But in terms of the tuition fees in Spain, they're not much more expensive than what you can have in private schools in the Middle East.
السلام عليكم، أنا معكم أسامة، وبهذا الفيديو بدي أحكي لكم عن أفضل 5 تخصصات ممكن إنك تدرسهم بأوروبا. الآن أوروبا صارت وجهة دراسية مهتمين كثير الناس فيها. ليش؟ لأنه بكندا زادت نسبة رفض الفيزا أو قل عدد الطلاب الدوليين اللي موجودين بكندا 49%. بأمريكا قل عدد الطلاب الدوليين 19%. ليش؟ لأنه ترامب إجا وتغيرت طريقة التعامل مع الطلاب الدوليين في كندا، فالطلاب صارت تتوجه لأوروبا بشكل أكبر. الآن بشكل عام الطلاب العرب لما بدهم يسافروا برا دايما بدهم يستقروا هناك، أو خلينا نحكي ب90% من الحالات الطالب بده يروح يدرس وبده يشتغل هناك. بالوضع الحالي لما أنت تكون ببلدك دايما بيحكوا لك والله في تخصص الجرافيك ديزاين ممتاز، أو تخصص التمريض في عليه شغل، أو هاي الشغلات بيحكوها. لكن هاي الشغلات تنطبق على البلد اللي أنت فيها. أنت ما بتكون عارف إذا بدك تروح على إسبانيا مثلا أو بدك تروح على ألمانيا، أنت ما بتكون عارف التخصصات، أو خلينا نحكي عارف الشغلات اللي ممكن إذا درستها تكون فرصة شغلك فيها عظيمة. عملت فيديو قبل هاي الفترة، راح أحط الرابط تبعه بالديسكريبشن، أفضل 10 تخصصات ممكن تدرسها بشكل عام. الآن هون بهذا الفيديو إحنا بس بنحكي عن أوروبا وخصيصا إسبانيا. فهاي التخصصات مش زي التخصصات اللي عليها حركة بالوقت الحالي زي AI وهاي الشغلات، لكن تخصصات إذا درستها فرصة إنك تلاقي شغل بإسبانيا كثير عالية. هذا الفيديو معمول مع EU Business School. EU Business School هي جامعة لها عدة فروع بأوروبا. عاملين المقابلة هاي مع شخص اسمه آيمريك هذا مسؤول القبول بجامعة EU Business School، صار له بمجال التعليم أكثر من 10 سنوات، وكل تعامله مع الطلاب الدوليين. الآن من خلال تعامله معهم بيشوف الطالب لما يجوا لما يتخرج وشو اشتغل وشو سوى، لأنهم بيضلوا متابعين مع الطالب. فآيمريك هو اللي راح يحكي لنا عن كل واحد من هاي التخصصات وليش تعتبر تخصصات كويسة. EU Business School هي جامعة خاصة موجودة في إسبانيا في برشلونة. طبعا من أجمل الكامبسز، أسعارها ممتازة جدا، التركيز فيها على الطالب إشي كثير مخيف. فإذا أنت طالب حبيت تدرس بإسبانيا وحابب تدرس بإيو بزنس سكول، راح أترك معلومات التواصل مع جامعة إيو بزنس سكول بالوصف تبع هذا الفيديو. خلينا الآن نرحب بالأستاذ آيمريك ونبلش مباشرة بالفيديو. Mr. Aymeric, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for giving us the time to instruct students on what are the best programs to study in Europe, and especially we're gonna start with asking you a question. If you wanna say anything to the students, please go ahead.
Yeah, of course. So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be of help, to give some support to students to choose where to study. So of course, every question you have, I'll be happy to answer them.
Before we jump into the programs, can you please tell us a little bit about EU Business School?
EU Business School, so it's in its name, so it's a school specialized in business. We started more than 50 years ago. We have 3 campuses in Europe, but the one I want to talk to about the most is the Barcelona one in Spain. And what makes EU Business School unique compared to other places is, for me, 2 different key points. Is that first, we're a very international school, so it's in its DNA even. For example, in the Barcelona campus, we have more than 100 different nationalities, and it's very diverse in the sense of it's not going to be 95% of Spaniards there and 5% a few international students from here and there. No, like, to give you a better idea, like less than a third of our students in the school are actually Europeans. And then we have students from literally every corner of the world. So if as a student you're looking for a very international atmosphere, I'd say we have one of the best in Spain. And then in terms of studying, so we teach business through the practice of it. That's the biggest point we have, because the idea is for students to gain skills and experience during their time with us that they'll be able to apply straight away when they get into their professional lives. So they do lots of activities in a sense, like business case studies, company visits, workshops, conferences with top business leaders from very different fields, internships, there are career days, also really lots of different activities in this sense.
Now I'm going to move to the next question, which is, before I ask about the programs, I just want to know why students should study abroad in 2026?
So for me, there are several points in this sense. Like, first of all, on a personal level, for students, they step outside their comfort zone. They discover a new country, new culture. They even get to learn a new language. So on a personal level, you grow a lot as a person. Then on a professional point of view, you build a new network because, of course, in a new country, new school, you make new friends. You get to know people from very different countries since, as I mentioned to you in the previous question, we're very international. So a Jordanian student can meet a Kenyan student, French student, Spanish, obviously, Russians, Colombians, and so on. So it gives you new opportunities of relationships for the future. And of course, also on a personal level, because you make great friends with someone from a very different country. You get to visit maybe this country with your friend who will show you around. So this is something that's super valuable, of course, as a student, even still as adults, obviously. And yeah, in terms of career opportunities, it's also enhancing the profile when you do that, because it shows to potential employers that you are an independent person. You've been able to move from your home country to a new one. You're able to solve problems because, of course, you need to adapt with the administrative processes before coming to a new country with the visa and so on. And you also shows dedication by doing this, because of course it's a long process. You don't just move abroad like this by snapping your fingers, of course. And it also shows that you are able to interact and adapt to different cultures, because again, with these different friends from very different countries, of course, again, let's say you're Jordanian and French, we both have different cultures, so we need to adapt to when interacting with each other, because of course our countries don't work the same. So that's very valuable for employers in the futures. And again, also in a personal point of view, that's very useful to grow as a person. And also what I want to add in that, specifically with Spain, to study abroad in Spain, without even talking how amazing this country is, because I could spend 2 hours talking to you about that, honestly. But in terms of the tuition fees in Spain, they're not much more expensive than what you can have in private schools in the Middle East. Honestly, it's around 15,000 euros per year for us, for example, to study a bachelor's in Barcelona. And just to say a quick word about Barcelona itself, really, you have everything you can ever want over there, because in terms of landscapes, you got the city who's amazing, really well known, of course, with the architecture, the Sagrada Familia from Gaudi. You've got the beaches, super accessible, the countryside accessible, mountains are quite close. The city is super well connected to the rest of Europe and the world with its international airport. And no matter what you're into, whether it's, let's say, music, sports, arts, hiking, whatever, you'll find an activity that fits your style in Barcelona. This is these are the reasons why I love living there. But yeah, I could, as I said, spend 2 hours talking to you about why Barcelona is amazing. But yeah, in quite short, this is why studying abroad is really good.
That actually happened to me. So I'm gonna tell them just a little story. لما كنت بالأردن قررت إني أسافر أدرس برا. طبعا أنا من عائلة دخلها متوسط وما معي كثير فلوس إني أروح ووالدي يصرف علي هناك. دبرت الدنيا، قدمت على جامعات، جبت الفيزا ما معي رسوم، جبت قبول لغة إنجليزية إيش رخيص $500 بالشهر وسافرت، وربنا وفقني وأخذت الفيزا. وأنا هناك بلشت أشتغل وأدرس وأصرف على حالي، يعني أصرف على المعهد اللغة وأنا موجود هناك. شوي شوي مع الوقت صار معي مبلغ إني أبلش جامعة. بلش جامعة، درست وخلصت بالتي هي أحسن. بعد ما خلصت دراسة إجيت زيارة على الأردن وقابلت الشباب اللي كانوا معاي بالجامعة. اللي اكتشفته إنه هدول الحمد لله رب العالمين معظمهم ما زالوا أصدقاء إلى غاية اليوم، لكن اللي اكتشفته إنه صرنا شخصيات مختلفة تماما عن بعض. ليش؟ لأنه لما تسافر برا اللي بصير معاك إنك أنت بتصير مسؤول عن حالك. للمرة الأولى أنت بدك تدفع أجار بيتك، بدك تدفع كل إشي عليك تدفعه، أنت لازم تجيب الأكل، أنت بتتحمل مسؤولية حالك. ما في حدا قريب أو صاحب مثلا ترن عليه إذا صارت معك مشكلة. أنت بتنحط مباشرة تحت مسؤولية كبيرة، إنك للمرة الأولى بحياتك صرت أنت شخص مسؤول عن حالك بعمر صغير. يعني أنت مثلا بالبلاد لما أنت تكون مثلا بالأردن أو بأي دولة بالوطن العربي بتكون مسؤول عن عن حالك بعد ما تتجوز، خلينا نحكي ممكن قبل، بس بالنهاية بتكون عايش مع أبوك وبتاكل بتشرب عند أبوك. هذا الحكي بيلتغي تماما على سن 18 لما تسافر برا. فبهاي السنوات أنت بتكبر 10 سنين، هاي من ناحية، وهذا إشي منيح ترى. النقطة الثانية، وأنا بأمريكا العمارة اللي أنا كنت فيها كان فيها منغوليين من منغوليا، كان فيها ناس من إثيوبيا، من إرتريا، من كل دول جنوب أمريكا، وبتصير تسمع كلام وتتعلم هيك، بصير عندك أصحاب من كل كلتشر، بتذوق الأكل تبع كل كلتشر. فلما رجعت على الأردن مثلا هسه معظم الأكل اللي باكله شغلات من اللي كنت أكلها بأمريكا. ليه؟ لأنه تعودت على هاي الشغلات. في طبق أفغاني بحبه، في طبق كوري بحبه، في طبق صيني بحبه، في طبق من منغوليا بحبه. بتصير أنت عندك يعني بتصير عندك تجميع على كلتشر، لعدة كلتشرز خلينا نحكي بوقت قصير. وهذا الحكي بشكل كامل، كل كلتشر غير انه بتتعرف على الاكل تبعهم، بتتعرف على كيف بيعيشوا حياتهم وبتتعلم منهم، لانه كل كلتشر بتلاقي فيها اشي منيح عندهم مش موجود عندك. فالصقل اللي بتعمله لشخصيتك لما تسافر برا وين ما درست، حتى لو درست باي دولة، بغيرك 180 درجة، لدرجة انه كثير ناس بعرفهم لما رجعوا للبلاد فقدوا كل اصدقائهم. ليه؟ لانه بكل بساطة صار عندهم عقلية مختلفة تماما عن العقلية اللي كانوا عايشين فيها بالأول. ما بدي أطول عليكم، خلينا أنتقل مع أيمريك للسؤال اللي بعده. Okay, Mr. Aymeric, we're going to move to the first question of what are the best 5 programs to study in Europe and especially in Spain. Let's dive in. What's the first program that, that's on top of the list?
I mean, I have to say it has to be the Bachelor of Business Administration. This is one of the, if not the most popular program that we have at the moment.
Okay. And do you think that if I want to study business administration, like, should I be interested in opening a business or work at a company?
I mean, an interest in business is something that, of course, it is needed because first, as a general advice, I would say to students, of course, to study something they're interested in, because then you're going to work in this field. And if you work in something you don't like, of course, it's going to lead to negative aspects in your life. But to go back to the business administration program, having an interest is very important. Not necessarily, a passion. But yeah, this interest is still needed to enjoy what you're doing, as I said, and also have the motivation to first succeed in your studies and then succeed in your job or in your business venture should you open a business later. So definitely, yeah.
And what are the opportunities to work, in Spain after I graduate if I studied business administration?
So there are lots of options for the BBA, because that's one thing I like with this program is that it's very broad in terms of the possibilities students have after they finish it. So obviously the first one that everyone probably has in mind is that you can, of course, open your own business, because the aim of that program first is to give you a 360-degree view on how to create and run your business. But of course, there are other opportunities for that. You can work as a project coordinator, for example, where you would support cross-functional teams to complete business initiatives on time and within budget. You could work as a business development analysis, where you identify new opportunities. You help with strategic partnerships to drive the company's growth. Then you can work as a marketing coordinator to, of course, develop and help implement marketing campaign strategies to help with the brand awareness of the company and, of course, increase the sales ultimately. But you can also work as a human resources specialist. This is something not many people think of, honestly, I think, with this program, where you work to support the recruitment of employees and the relations within a company and to develop initiatives for the employees as well. Another example that I have, because after that, otherwise there will be too many, but you can work as an innovation manager. That is when you evaluate emerging technologies to help implement new processes or products to keep your company competitive on the market it is in. So yeah, this program, as I said, is quite broad in terms of opportunities in Spain, and not just Spain, even like in the rest of the world.
Okay, Mr. Aymeric, moving to the next question. What's the second on the list?
The second on the list that's getting more and more popularity now, I would say, is artificial intelligence for business. This is this is such a big topic now. Lots of students are asking for this, but yeah, it's going to become number one eventually, I think.
And as a personally, I did not study anything related to this, but in the last 6 months, I've been studying AI every single day, because the way it's going to change the world is something that it's things are going to be different in 5 years from now. So even I got old, and it's harder for me to learn now, but I convince myself every day to study something about AI. I take courses, machine learning, anything related to AI. I try to train myself, and this is something that I would advise students to. Even if you're not studying AI or anything related to it, you need to be aware of it. You need to do, some self-study. But getting back to the program itself, is the AI program related to, programming?
No, I mean, you don't need to be tech-oriented, let's say, or programming to study AI. Because in our case, the goal of this program, Artificial Intelligence for Business, is to learn how to harness and how to use the AI in the business world, how to make your business, your jobs more efficient thanks to it. And we believe as a school that it's very important for students to be able to apply this in business, because to complete what you were saying before, definitely AI is very important to use, to learn. I mean, for any business, any kind of job you're in, because it's not just a trend anymore. It's just being now for the last few years reshaping the way we've been studying, we've been working, whether it's to improve our writing, analyze data, or you can even do business simulations with this. So it's really also important, I think, for students to learn and master some skills related to AI in terms of the profile as well, because this is going to be also demanded by companies in the futures when applying for certain jobs, that you master AI tools. So this is definitely an advantage to start studying now, because not many schools or universities yet offer this kind of program, so students can still gain, let's say, a competitive advantage for the future in the market. And the last thing I would say is very important to learn related to AI is how does it impact society, also the ethics in general, because, for example, it raises questions, as you know, on the environmental impact it has with the data centers, for example, or privacy issues that can occur. So it's also very important just to learn about that. It works on both personal and professional point of view, this last point, I would say even.
Okay, that's awesome.
I would say sports management is something I would recommend. Very different from AI we've just mentioned before, but especially if students want to study in a place like Barcelona that has such a big sports culture, not just football even. You've got lots of different sports at very high levels in Barcelona. Of course, everyone knows FC Barcelona, Lionel Messi, but not just that. There's basketball, there's handball, there's hockey, there's a lot really. So definitely sports management is really good, because the sports industry is something very specific in itself to work in. And it's also something I like with sports management is that, because of course most of us are really into sports. We all have our own sports of predilection, but we don't all get the opportunity to become a pro athlete. So if you still want to be connected to that world, this program I would say is pretty good, because, for example, in our case, the sports management program we have is aimed for these kind of people who want to work in the sports industry. And there's lots of opportunity in the end, because maybe people are not specifically aware of that, but there's lots of different jobs in this industry. You can work as a sports analyst, you can work in sports marketing, you can work in operations, event coordination, you can even work with athletes as an athlete liaison, for example, even as an agent, because if you have some students who want to be football agents, for example, let's say in the future, you can do that with a sports management degree. So it's really great if you have a passion for sports, really, to study this kind of program.
did not expect that you're going to say this program, but while you're talking, I remember that, you guys are in Barcelona, and this is sports is a huge thing in Barcelona. That makes a lot of sense. Now, regular, do you guys offer this program at your university?
Of course, yeah. We have this as a bachelor's program in 3 years, and it's all taught in English. So, of course, no need for Spanish to do it beforehand. But yeah, of course.
Awesome. And they can finish in 3 years?
Exactly. In 3 years, students can finish. And we can even, not just for this program, but all the programs we have, provide students support for afterwards to find internships and jobs. Because we have a dedicated department at EU Business School called Career Services that's involved in every aspect of the practice of business that I mentioned earlier with students. So they've got a platform with internships, with job offers from partner companies that students can browse through and then get help to apply to it. So, and in that case, for related to sports management, of course, we have offers in a sense, but for other specialties as well. So that's something I really like, honestly, this kind of support students can get.
Awesome. Moving to the fourth program, what's the fourth on the list?
Very different from the sports management we've just mentioned. Now, I would say business analytics and data science is something that's gaining popularity as well, because this program is, in our case, so it's a master's program that we have with the specialization. The idea of this specialization is to help students to understand the power that data has so that they can turn this into actionable business actions, because they would study about data tools, fundamentals of data science, machine learning and AI, or the implementation of KPIs, for example. And obviously in every company, this is something very important to be able to analyze the data, to first understand what's happening in, let's say, specific markets, what's happening inside your company, and how you can what's the word I'm looking for? You can get things better thanks to this analysis. So it's key in business today, even, I would say.
And do you guys offer this program at EU Business School?
We do, yeah. Mention it quickly. We have this specialization as a master's degree that's 1 year long.
So it's master's, not bachelor's.
Exactly. That's a master's degree. And one thing I'd like to add about this, because I've had this question actually before. So, because maybe with data, the preconceived idea we can have is that it's purely for math lovers, let's say. In that case, you don't need to be a hardcore math lover, let's say, to study the specialization. But of course, I would tell students that they will need to be at least comfortable working with numbers, because, of course, careers in specialization involve, obviously, analyzing large amounts of data to extract insight and to help with decision making. So that's something they need to be aware of, basically.
Awesome. And what's the last program, the fifth program that you recommend?
Last program I would recommend to students, this is a master's program as well. That's the Innovation and Entrepreneurship program. This one is made to prepare students to think and act like innovators and founders in startup environments, basically. So this program focuses on identifying real market opportunities, develop creative business models, test ideas, and launch new ventures, for example.
Okay, awesome. And, is Barcelona now a good place, to work in this program? Like, if I studied the program, can I get a job after I graduate in Barcelona?
Yeah, I mean, Barcelona is one of the best places in Europe to work in the startup ecosystem, honestly, because right now there are more than 2,200 startups, last I checked. It's makes Barcelona one of the top cities in Europe, as I said. And lots of them, for example, are in tech services, not only, but most of them, like health tech, fintech, AI, also sustainability, for example. And one thing that is great about having a big startup ecosystem like that is it also attracts lots of international people, and it helps making the city even more international than it is, because Barcelona in itself is already very international, and brings even more people with this kind of profile. Yeah, of course. I mean, my first advice that if you're considering studying abroad, or if you already know you want to do it, is to make sure to do your proper research and ask the questions about first the country you want to go to make sure it fits with what you're looking for in terms of culture, lifestyle, language, for example. Because let's say you move to Spain, you don't speak Spanish, you need to check if that's a language that you want, let's say, to talk. Is it difficult to learn or not? All these related to the countries are very important to look for. Then I would say the same things to do your research and ask lots of questions about the school and the program where you want to study to, because it's also very important for students to make sure the program they want to study aligns with the objectives they have in their future. So if you want to open your business, if you want to work in as an engineer or whatever, you need to, of course, make sure the place will fit with your idea. And of course, also to add to that, to make sure to study something that they like, something I've mentioned before, because again, you will not enjoy your studies if you study something you don't like, and you will not enjoy your professional lives if you spend years working in a field that you're not interested in. And the last thing I would say, that's more from a personal point of view, I would say if you're not sure about studying abroad yet, I would say consider this, because it's literally a life-changing experience. I mean, to tell you about myself quickly about that, when I was in my 20s and the university, I did a year in exchange in Spain, and it changed my life, literally. This is the reason why I'm living in Spain now. It opened my mind. I discovered new things, new cultures, new people, and it made me hungry to see more. And that's why I love working now in an international environment such as EU Business School, because not just with the students, my colleagues, we're all from very different places in the world, and it's amazing, to learn all these languages, all these cultural facts, these anecdotes, and being able to speak different languages every day. It's amazing.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Aymeric. You've been very helpful. Thank you for all the information that you gave us today. Thank you. And I'm going to tell the guys, إذا أي حدا مهتم بالدراسة بجامعة EU Business School، راح نحط معلومات التواصل معنا بشركة كيسان. شركة كيسان احنا بنساعد الطالب إنه يدرس برا من الألف للياء، يعني بنجيب له القبول الجامعي، بنقدم له على السفارة، بنجهزه لمقابلة السفارة إذا تم طلبها، وبنساعده حتى لما يوصل هناك بموضوع السكن، وكيف يجيب تيكت القطار، وكيف يسافر، كل هاي الشغلات من الألف للياء. وبنقدم خدماتنا لكل الطلاب العرب اللي مهتمين يدرسوا برا. بنقدم الخدمات أونلاين، موجودين إحنا من سنة 2016. إذا حابب إنك تدرس برا بإمكانك تتواصل معنا، أو إذا حابب تتواصل مع جامعة EU Business School أو مستر أيمريك، راح أحط معلومات التواصل كمان بالوصف. بتمنى أنكم استفدتوا من هذا الفيديو. يعطيكم ألف عافية.